The world is witnessing a seismic shift, a transformation so massive that it could completely rewrite the rules of the global automotive industry. For years, electric vehicles were seen as the next big thing. But what if we told you that something even bigger, even more revolutionary, is already here? What if the age of charging cables, power stations, and battery anxiety is about to end forever? Welcome to the era of self-powered EVs. And guess what? The United States is taking the lead, racing ahead of China in a move that could shake the entire world. For years, China has dominated the EV race. From BYD to NIO to XPeng, the Chinese have produced electric cars at a pace that stunned the entire world. They mastered battery manufacturing, lowered costs, and spread their EVs to global markets faster than anyone thought possible. But as history shows, technology never stands still, and the next revolution often begins where you least expect it. In Silicon Valley, a quiet storm has been building. American engineers, innovators, and startups have been secretly working on something extraordinary. Cars that can power themselves, cars that generate their own energy, cars that could run endlessly without ever being plugged in. Imagine driving for weeks, months, even years without charging. Imagine a car that transforms sunlight, motion, and even environmental energy into continuous power. This isn't science fiction, it's happening right now. US-based innovators have developed breakthrough systems using advanced electromagnetic regeneration, solar nanotech panels, and perpetual kinetic systems that make today's EVs look outdated. And for the first time in decades, the global spotlight is shifting back to America. For years, headlines have praised China's dominance in electric vehicle production. But this new wave, the self-powered EV wave, could flip that balance completely. Sources close to major US automakers reveal that prototypes of these cars are already being tested in California and Nevada. Several tech firms, some backed by government innovation grants, are preparing to reveal vehicles that never need external charging. And the news? It's spreading like wildfire. China knows it too. The country that once led the EV revolution may now find itself trying to catch up. While Chinese brands are busy building massive gigafactories and lithium refineries, American scientists are moving beyond lithium altogether, into new energy sources that generate power on demand. This could become one of the greatest industrial turnarounds in history. Think about it, for years, the EV battle has been about battery size, range, and charging speed. Tesla led the game, but China caught up fast. Now though, it's not about who builds the best battery. It's about who can eliminate the battery problem entirely. Self-powered EVs don't depend on grid electricity. They don't need thousands of charging stations. They don't rely on rare earth minerals in the same way. That's not just an upgrade, that's a total disruption of everything we thought we knew about electric cars. And the timing couldn't be more dramatic. The world is facing massive energy uncertainty. Oil prices swing wildly, power grids are under strain, and environmental pressure is mounting. A car that powers itself doesn't just sound exciting, it could change how nations think about energy independence. For the United States, this could mean cutting reliance on imported lithium and reducing China's stranglehold on the EV supply chain. Now, let's talk innovation. Behind this revolution are some names you've probably heard, and some you haven't. Tech startups in Texas, Arizona, and California are experimenting with self-charging propulsion units that use rotational magnetic fields to sustain energy loops. Others are integrating solar film technology across the car's entire surface, converting every inch into a micro power plant. NASA's advanced material engineers have also contributed to research on nano-energy cells, inspired by spacecraft systems that recycle energy in deep space. These breakthroughs are now making their way into everyday vehicles. Meanwhile, big American automakers like Ford, GM, and even Tesla have been quietly investing in research partnerships focused on infinite-range mobility.
The concept?
A car that never needs to stop for fuel or charge. For Tesla, this is particularly interesting. Elon Musk himself has hinted in interviews that the next leap in EV tech won't come from a bigger battery, it'll come from smarter energy systems. That's exactly what's happening now. But let's not forget the race element, because make no mistake, this is a race. China has been watching closely, accelerating its own self-powered car programs. Companies like BYD and Geely have filed patents for hybrid kinetic electric systems. But according to industry insiders, the US is months, not years, ahead in development. Analysts predict that by early 2026, the First commercial self-powered vehicles from American companies could roll off production lines. If that happens before China's rollout, it would mark the first time in decades that the US takes the lead in a major clean tech industry. Imagine what that means for consumers. No more charging stations. No more range anxiety. No more waiting for hours to recharge your vehicle.
Just drive, endlessly.
For road trippers, delivery companies, and even the military, this could be a game changer. The potential applications go far beyond cars. Imagine self-powered buses, trucks, and drones. Imagine an entire transport ecosystem that powers itself, clean, efficient, and unstoppable. But how does it really work? Without diving into too much science, these self-powered EVs use closed-loop energy systems. They capture and convert kinetic motion, frictional heat, and environmental vibrations into reusable electrical energy. Some use microturbines that spin within the vehicle structure, recharging internal capacitors as you drive. Others rely on thin solar nanocoatings that continuously harvest sunlight, even in low-light conditions. When all these systems combine, they create an almost perpetual energy cycle, enough to keep the vehicle running indefinitely, as long as it's in motion. Of course, this technology is still early. There are skeptics who question scalability, safety, and cost. But we've heard those doubts before, back when electric cars themselves were dismissed as impossible. Remember when people laughed at Tesla? Today, it's one of the most valuable car companies on Earth. The same story might repeat with self-powered EVs. In fact, insiders say that several investors are calling this the next aha moment for the auto industry. The economic implications are huge. If the US truly delivers this technology before China, it could reclaim its manufacturing edge. It could revive industries across Michigan, Ohio, and California. It could also shift global trade patterns, reducing demand for imported energy materials and giving American automakers a once-in-a-century advantage. But it's not just about money or competition, it's about the environment. Self-powered EVs could drastically reduce global emissions, even more than current electric cars. They don't need fossil-fueled power plants to charge, which means their lifetime carbon footprint is close to zero. This could accelerate global sustainability goals by decades. Meanwhile, China isn't standing still. Rumors suggest that several Chinese research hubs are already developing counter-technology to catch up. However, the US has something China doesn't: an ecosystem of startups willing to take bold risks. Silicon Valley thrives on disruption. And that's exactly what's happening here. As the first prototypes prepare for launch, media buzz is exploding. Leaked footage shows concept cars glowing with built-in solar skin, dashboards powered entirely by internal motion, and digital systems that report infinite range. It sounds unbelievable, but so did flight, space travel, and the smartphone before they arrived. Oh, here's the big question. Will self-powered cars make traditional EVs obsolete? Some experts think yes. Once these vehicles reach mass production, the demand for charging infrastructure could collapse overnight. Charging companies may pivot toward software and maintenance instead of energy delivery. Oil and battery industries could face their biggest disruption since the invention of electricity. For everyday drivers, this revolution could be life-changing. Imagine buying a car that never needs fuel or a charge, only basic maintenance. The total cost of ownership could drop dramatically, making clean mobility accessible to millions more people. And for the first time, driving green won't mean compromising on convenience. This is more than innovation, it's a declaration. The United States, once trailing in EV manufacturing, is stepping back into the spotlight with technology that could redefine how the world moves. China, the long-reigning champion, now faces a new kind of competition, one built not on scale, but on imagination and invention. So as we look toward 2026 and beyond, one thing is certain: the race for the future of mobility is far from over.
It's only juste begun.
And this time, America is firing the first shot in a technological revolution that could outpace anything we've seen before. The message is clear: the age of charging is ending. The era of self-powered driving has begun. The world is watching, and the US is leading the way. But let's dive even deeper, because what's unfolding right now isn't just about who sells the first self-powered EV. It's about who defines the future of mobility. For over a century, cars have needed something: gas, electricity, charging infrastructure. Every generation of innovation solved one problem but created another. Gasoline cars brought convenience but destroyed the planet.
Electric cars.
Promised sustainability but introduced range anxiety and battery waste. Now, for the first time, self-powered EVs promise something radically different. Freedom from all of it. Freedom from the plug. Freedom from the pump. Freedom from the limits of energy itself. Think about that for a second. We've reached a point where technology is breaking the chain between motion and consumption. A vehicle that powers itself means humanity is taking its first real step toward infinite mobility. That's something our ancestors could only dream of, and now it's within reach. Engineers in the US are calling it Project Continuum, an initiative that combines artificial intelligence, energy harvesting materials, and quantum battery concepts. These cars don't just use energy, they manage it intelligently. Built-in AI systems monitor road conditions, weather, and driving behavior, optimizing how much power is captured and how little is wasted. Over time, the car learns your habits. When you accelerate, brake, and cruise, using that data to generate the maximum possible power efficiency. It's not just an EV anymore. It's a living energy organism on wheels. And it's not just startups doing this. Rumors say Tesla's next experimental platform, codenamed Hercules, is being designed to test electromagnetic propulsion with zero external charging. Meanwhile, Ford's innovation division in Dearborn is reportedly working with the U.S. Department of Energy on a microreactive drivetrain that uses ambient vibrations to generate current. General Motors has filed patents for dynamic regenerative drive systems that continuously recharge internal energy cells as the car moves. These ideas sounded like science fiction 10 years ago. Now they're becoming blueprints for production. Oh, how did America pull this off? After years of letting China dominate EV production, how did the U.S. suddenly surge ahead? The answer lies in innovation culture. China excels in scale, mass manufacturing, affordability, and speed. But the United States?
It excelled in breakthrough.
The culture of moonshots, startups, and open-source collaboration is alive again. American researchers didn't try to build a better battery. They tried to reinvent energy itself. It's the same kind of thinking that created the internet, smartphones, and reusable rockets. While the world was busy optimizing existing EVs, American engineers asked, what if we skip the charger entirely? That single question may have just rewritten the future. But here's where things get even more interesting: global politics. The EV war isn't just about cars, it's about influence, supply chains, and national power. Whoever controls next-generation mobility controls a trillion-dollar market. The US government understands that, and sources suggest that several of these self-powered EV projects are receiving quiet federal support. Energy independence is no longer just a slogan, it's becoming a technological reality. Meanwhile, China is scrambling to respond. Reports indicate that major Chinese automakers like BYD and NIO have accelerated research into closed-loop hydrogen electric systems that mimic the self-powering principle. But these technologies are still in experimental stages. The US, on the other hand, already has multiple prototypes capable of sustained operation without recharge for months at a time. And here's a fact that's sending shockwaves through the global EV industry. Early test drives of these US self-powered prototypes show over 95% energy retention even after continuous operation for thousands of miles. That means the car isn't just self-sustaining, it's efficient beyond anything we've ever seen. Now imagine when this hits the consumer market. Picture a sleek self-powered sedan cruising from New York to Los Angeles without stopping, not once. Picture delivery fleets that operate 24/7 without refueling. Picture entire cities where cars feed power back to the grid instead of taking from it. That's right, the same technology that keeps them running could also stabilize power networks during peak demand. It's a vision of a fully integrated self-sustaining ecosystem, and it's coming sooner than you think. Economists are already predicting massive ripple effects. Charging networks might pivot to become software-based diagnostic hubs. Energy utilities might have to reinvent their business models. Even the insurance industry could be disrupted, as the risk profiles of cars that never stall, never overheat, and never run out of energy are entirely different. This isn't just about technology, it's about how people will feel behind the wheel. The anxiety that comes with watching your battery percentage drop, gone. The stress of finding a charging station on a road trip, gone. The frustration of rising electricity bills and grid failures, gone. For the first time, mobility will feel infinite, liberating, and effortless. And let's talk aesthetics. Because these self-powered EVs don't just work differently, they look different. Designers are reimagining the car's entire structure as an energy harvesting system. The roof, hood, and even windows are embedded with transparent nano-solar layers. The tires contain miniature kinetic coils that capture rotational motion. Inside, dashboards glow with ambient lighting powered by the car's own electromagnetic field. It's not just transportation, it's energy art in motion in Los Angeles. One startup recently unveiled a concept called Eclipse One, a sleek black coupe with 0 charging ports. When asked how it charges, the founder smiled and said, "It doesn't." The car generates enough surplus energy to power a small house, and it looks stunning while doing it. Early investors are calling it the iPhone moment of the EV industry. And that's the perfect analogy. Just as smartphones replaced dozens of gadgets, cameras, maps, computers, self-powered cars could replace the very concept of refueling. This could be the end of charging forever. Of course, the transition won't be instant. Traditional EVs will still dominate for a few years, especially as affordability improves. But once consumers experience a car that never needs to charge, there's no going back. The demand curve will shift overnight, knows this, and that's why their automakers are now working around the clock to bridge the gap. But American engineers are already in the lead. Sources close to Tesla and Aptera suggest that limited pilot programs could start as early as 2026, targeting fleet operators and early adopters. If successful, mass production could follow within 2 years, potentially giving the US a 2 to 3 year advantage over China in one of the most crucial tech revolutions of the century. That lead could change everything: global trade, jobs, and even geopolitics. If the US becomes the first nation to master self-powered mobility, it could export technology instead of importing batteries. It could reindustrialize the American Midwest, bringing thousands of new high-tech manufacturing jobs. It could also challenge China's dominance in rare earth minerals, a key part of why China currently controls so much of the EV market. So yes, this story is about cars, but it's also about a shift in power.
À Turning Point where innovation meets indépendance.
A race where the winner doesn't just build faster cars, they build the future itself. As this revolution accelerates, one question